Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I put up a video on Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I've been trying to get ready for an art show with some of my aviation paintings and things like that, so that's why I was away from doing some videos. Alright, but we're back. And we continue this BagaPie Modifier series, and today I'm gonna show you how to make a simple fence using the default. Show you some of the settings and a couple ways of making a fence. The first way I don't like to use, the default way, but I'm gonna kind of give you an idea how to use this. All right, so you got to have the BagaPie modifier installed, and if you do, when you hit J, it brings up the context window. Okay, so by default, we can create a fence because we have no objects in our scene, and yet fence is white. That means it's enabled. So if I click that fence, we get this grease pencil. If I hold my left mouse button and I sit there and I make some squigglies like this and release that, it makes this ugly looking fence. Alright, now you can't make straight lines with BagaPie modifier, which really annoys me. So I create a fence in a different way. Alright, now I'm going to show you some of the settings for these default fence for this. See, this is this gothic looking wrought iron fence type thing. Okay, I'm going to show you how I would make the fence rather than using the grease pencil. Alright, so I'm going to hit Control Z a couple times so I can start over, and I am going to hit Shift A, and I'm going to go to Mesh, and I'm going to go to Single Vert, and we're going to add a vertex right here. Okay, then I'm going to G, which I'm going to move it, and I'm going to move it in the Y direction, and then I'm going to extrude that in the X and extrude this in the Y, and I'm going to extrude that back into the X, and we're going to move it in this direction. Okay, so now we have this nice squared off object. However, tab out of edit mode. You cannot use a regular object with these modifiers, okay, for this particular object. All right, this line, in order to create a fence along this line, that has to be a curve. So right click your mouse, convert to curve. So the vertice object, okay, turns into a curve. All right, now we can hit the J and hit the fence, and it automatically creates a fence following that curve. Alright, now let's see what kind of things that we can change. Now this is really ugly, I understand that. It's random, it's gothic. Alright, so I'm going to change this grease pencil to my cursor. Not that I'm going to do anything with it, but just so I don't accidentally draw a line and create this weird looking fence. Okay, let's make some changes to this modifier. So come over here to the modifier stack, and you have 5 slots for materials. You should know how to create a material by now. Okay, so if you don't, I have plenty of videos to show you how to create a material, but I'm not going to really apply any materials. I might create a quickie or something like that, just so you can see how it looks. All right, so the first 5 slots are for your materials. The next couple slots are for this base down here. Okay, you may have a concrete base, you may not. Okay, but you can change the settings. If I want that to be 0.2 meters instead of 0.5, it will make it shorter. If I want it skinnier, I can put a 0.1 and give me a skinnier base, whatever you want it to do. And then down here at the bottom, I think it's at the bottom, it's somewhere around here, I should have something to do with the base. Oh, right here, down here says use base wall, and it's 1, which means true, which means it has a base wall. If I change that to 0, then, which means false, I don't want a base wall, it will get rid of it. Okay, but let's, for this tutorial, let's just go ahead and turn that back on to 1. So we have a small concrete base for our wrought iron fence. Okay, now let's go all the way back up. Okay, the fence offset is the bottom. Notice the bottom of our fence right here. This distance from the bottom of these vertical rails to the wall is 0.1 meters. Okay, if we want to change that, you can simply type in a distance, and it will change that distance between the bottom of these vertical members to the top of the wall. Okay, that is the fence offset. Fence height is actually the height of these vertical members. All right, right now they're set at 2 meters. So let's go ahead and leave that at 2 meters. Now you might be wondering about these poles. Okay, here's these poles right here, and they're kind of square tubing right now. Okay, those are called potlets. Okay, and those are right down here where it says main potlets, distance and height. Right now the height is set at 1.9 meters from here to here. All right, if I come to the 1.9 meters and I change that to, let's say, 1.5 meters, you'll notice that the main posts are now 1.5 meters tall. Okay, but let's change that back to 0.19 just so we see our effects a little better. So I'm going to change that back to 0.9. All right, so that takes care of those main posts there. Now, by default, it gives us this Gothic randomness of the vertical members of our fence. That is controlled by the rotation random. And right now it's set at 0.2. I'm going to make that 0, and it will stand all of those straight up. Okay, so we have this just like that. All right, now let's come back to the main posts. Okay, the potlets, and see where it says main is round. Right now it says 0, which is false, means that they're square. If we change this to 1, those turn round. Okay, same thing with these vertical members here. Okay, see if we have use vertical. Again, that's a Boolean, true or false. 1 is true, 0 is false. Okay, if you want those round, you're going to make this true, and now all of these vertical members are now cylinders. Okay, and then this crossbar, this horizontal right here, use horizontal, that is down here where it says horizontal is round. Right now it says 0, which is false. If I make that true, these horizontals are now round. Okay, so if you're in the process of making a chain link fence, those usually have round members. All right, you can also replace the 2 round posts with a plane. If I turn that use plane true, then you get this plane that you can apply a chain link fence type texture to it to have a chain link fence. Okay, so those are just some of the effects that you can create. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn on this viewport shading here. Is that the one I want? There it is. Okay, and I'm going to come down here and we're going to create a concrete, just something really quick and dirty. Concrete. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fancy. I might have an albedo layer, and I might use the normals, okay, to give it some texture. All right, so we have concrete, and I'm going to come all the way back down, and I'm in materials. I'm going to go to MSFS material params, and we're going to turn on standard. And we're going to kind of come down here, and we're going to add a albedo, which I might have here. We'll make it kind of a beige look to it. And I want the normal map. So we're going to select the normal map. So now I have a concrete material. Okay, and that's this base right down here. So I'm going to come all the way, I'm going to go back to the modifier. And I am going to come up to material base wall, and I'm going to select that. I'm going to choose our concrete material we just added. Okay. Now, it doesn't look like concrete, and the reason it doesn't, remember, this is a modifier. I would have to UV unwrap this in order to get that material to apply on that object correctly. Okay, but we'll do that here in a second. All right, right now this is all one object. All right, now let's come down to material again, and let's create let's just create a just a vertex color. Not a, we're going to disable the MSFS parameters, and we're just going to come over here and we're going to add in a new material node, add new material, and we'll call this rod iron. Okay, and I'm just going to make this a black vertex color. So I'm going to go to base color, and we are going to slide this down toward the black, and we're going to increase the metallic a little bit and decrease the roughness so it's a little shinier. Okay, so now we have a wrought iron material. Okay, so let's come back up to our modifier stack, and for the, I got to remember which object it uses. This is for the horizontal. So let's do the horizontal, those posts, and let's choose wrought iron. Okay, notice it takes our plane and applies that wrought iron material to it. Well, that's not what we want. So we want to come down to where we said use plane. Let's turn that to false and make it back to our pipes. All right, so now we have wrought iron black pipe for our run-in. Okay, now if you wanted a chain link fence material, you can simply come down to the materials, add a new slot by hitting plus, and then I don't have one set up right away, but you can add a chain link material, go down to MSFS parameters and bring in the different layers, the ambient occlusion, roughness, metallic, and then your alpha channel to make it transparent so you can see through the fence. And then you would apply that material to the horizontal, but change the horizontal to use the plane, and then your chain link material would be applied to between these two posts. I mean, horizontal members. Okay. Now, you can still use that wrought iron material for these vertical members of this. Okay. So if we come down to fence material, click that and choose wrought iron, now our posts, our vertical members are wrought iron. And then you can actually change this to wrought iron to get the main post. Okay. Now remember, we applied this concrete to the base, but it doesn't look right because this needs to be converted. This modifier stack needs to be applied so we can select the base of the wall and then create a UV unwrap and apply that concrete material. Okay, so let's do that. So let's come over here to the BagaPie Modifier. Oh, I got to get at edit. I got to tab out of edit mode. Go over here to the BagaPie Modifier and let's apply all modifiers. Okay. Oh, curve. I forgot about that. Let's select this, right select. Now we turn this all into a mesh. There we go. Okay, remember, we had to have a curve for the wall to follow that shape, right? Then we need to convert it back to a mesh in order to apply materials in a different way. So now we have this. If I go into edit mode, every object in this fence is now selectable. So you can go in and make modifications to it. Okay. But you might want to get all of your setups done with the modifiers first before you apply them. Okay. That's how I use the BagaPie modifiers. I get it set up in the general way that I want the object. And then once I think I have it all done, then I convert everything into a mesh. Okay, and then I apply the modifiers. Now, with this fence selected, let's do face select, and let's just select these faces right here. Okay, let's just select the base. I'm going to turn on X-ray mode, and I want to make sure I select, I'm holding the shift, and I want to select all the pieces of the base. Okay. So here we go. Let's zoom in here. I'm selecting our base only. Okay, so those are all the polygons that make up the base. I might have missed one or two here. All right, and I'm going to hit P to separate that, make that base into its own object. Selection. Okay, and then I'm going to tab out, select the base. Okay, which is vert 1. We'll rename this to base, and it automatically renames anything that's linked. And then I can go into UV unwrap and make sure I'm face select, hit A to select all, go to UV unwrap, and let's just do a smart UV and select that, and there we go. And then we're going to zoom in. Okay, and we're going to go to materials, and we are going to get rid of, now by default, all those objects have every one of those materials that we used. Okay, but now that I've split the base off, we do not need these two slots. We don't need the material slot. Oh, I can't do that in edit mode. Let's go to layout. There we go. I'm not in edit mode. Let's go back over here to materials. We don't need this base material here, and we don't need the wrought iron. We just want the concrete. Concrete, not the concrete, the concrete. All right. Then let's go back into UV unwrap. And let's make sure that we have our material, because we can't see our material. So let's open that up. No, that's not what I wanted. And I want to hit A to select, and we're going to scale that all up. And then we're going to go in here to layout mode. Something's not working here. Why isn't it? I can't remember why. Because this is disabled. Alright, so with this selected, I'm going to enable the standard, and we are going to add in our concrete albedo. We'll give it beige look, and then the normal map, and there we have our concrete look to our base of our map. Alright, so that's using the BagaPie Modifier fence to make a wrought iron fence. Alright, so hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do, and I will see you guys on the next video. And you can buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. We'll see you guys later.